Hi, and welcome once again to my show In Our Teens, a show that brings together parents, teenagers, and experts who help us understand the remarkable journey of teenage. I hope this new year is treating you well. इसीलिए in this new year, we have a brand new hot career for you. In my guest chair today, Mr. Variksh Mehta, who is a certified scuba diving trainer. And he's here to help us understand that how scuba diving has been the hottest new career, and especially now after hashtag Lakshadweep. आइए बात करते हैं. हाय वारिश एंड वेलकम टू आवर शो इन आवर टीन्स. आप अपने बिजी स्केड्यूल से हमारे लिए वक्त निकाल कर आए हैं, उसके लिए थैंक यू सो मच. तो जब मैं आपसे पूछती हूँ एक शब्द के बारे में, तो आप मुझे बताइए कि सबसे पहले आपके दिमाग में क्या ख्याल आता है, और वो है टीनेजर्स.
So teenagers, I mean, being a scuba diving instructor and been teaching in the pool for so many years, I come across a lot of people who are teenagers. But again, every individual is different from one another. The only thing that I kind of think of teenagers these days is they're all out to explore. They have big dreams, and it's crazy to know how each one wants to lead their life in their own particular way. There is no fixed way that they want to live it, but it's all about exploring. And I think everyone should just keep experimenting.
Okay.
That's the real way to kind of go about it.
तो आप जब बच्चों को सिखाते हैं तो वारिश, हमारे करिकुलम में बहुत यंग एज से स्विमिंग नहीं इंट्रोड्यूस किया जाता. तो
Right.
आपको क्या लगता है कि अर्ली लाइफ स्विमिंग लेसन्स कितने ज़रूरी हैं?
I think every individual should kind of, it's like cycling. So if you kind of know how to swim, it's a great ability that you have in your own self, and it's also very important to know swimming. Speaking of swimming, nowadays in India, I don't see, I mean, teaching in the pool, swimming pool around here, I see many people do not know how to swim. And most of them end up signing for scuba diving, which is kind of a myth that you really need to know how to swim to be able to scuba, especially to get a certification. Yeah, that's pretty much it. So, I mean, swimming does play a very important role. And especially if you want to kind of get into adventure sports or anything that is sports related, it's also a great fitness program for you. So that's pretty much about swimming. I have been swimming all my life. So
Okay.
if parents kind of inculcate swimming as a activity for their children from a very early age, it's better, because you can't really learn swimming after you cross a certain age. It's not like you cannot do it, it's not impossible, but it's always better to kind of have it inbuilt from the very start.
So very start is what age you recommend?
I would say ideally at about 6 to 7 years, or maybe even earlier. I started swimming at the age of, I think, 3 or 2 maybe. Don't really remember, but yeah, it kind of happened for me really early. Everyone in my family. Not all of them are good swimmers, but yeah.
So what inspired you to be a scuba diving trainer and take it up as a career?
So, like I said, I have always been a swimmer all my life. I've played a few nationals in water polo. I've also been a long distance swimmer. In fact, early in the days, when I was about 6 years old, I crossed the sea from Uran to Gateway,
Okay.
which was 16.5 kilometers. And yeah, that was one of the milestones in my life.
So Varish, you were telling us about your feat. You swam from Uran to Gateway of India.
Yes.
So tell us something more about it.
So basically, the whole journey started from that milestone itself. After which I started to be a swimmer and I started to play water polo. And then very recently, in 2014, I ended up taking a trip to the Andamans to do my first certification in scuba diving, which is just the open water program. But I ended up doing open water and advanced together. And then in 2017, I decided to become a dive master. So I went to Andamans again, the same dive school, Lakshadweep. I kind of stayed there for 2 months and finished my dive master program. And then recently, just in October 2023, I did my diploma in diving.
Okay.
And that turned out to be my instructor course.
Okay.
So that's pretty much the journey. And yeah, I think just being in the water all the time makes me feel more fluid, and I think that was my go-to place
Okay.
And I kind of found it somewhere down the line. But yeah, still exploring.
So Varish, you've done your diploma
Yeah.
to be an instructor. क्या इसके आगे और भी पढ़ाई है जो आप
Yes,
करना चाहते
so
हैं?
to be very honest, there are a certain there are more steps to scuba diving, like staff instructor and course director and stuff like that. But again, the annual fees for that is super expensive,
Like how expensive is it?
and it's going to be about 60 to 70,000 bucks a year,
Okay.
and that is kind of super expensive in my place right now because diving is not that high paying, especially in India. But if you go to other countries, maybe it's, you make in dollars and you can kind of save all that money. But in India, it's more of a lifestyle, and that is what is also a message for all the people who want to probably get into the professional side of diving. That you cannot have that as your only thing. You need another side gig, and that is what is going to sum up the whole thing.
But after having our Prime Minister, Mr. Narendra Modi, in the wetsuit and with snorkeling gear, you think the perception towards it is going to change and our country is going to be more receptive to it?
It has. Like Modi being,
Especially the recent Lakshadweep hashtag.
Yeah, Modi being in a wetsuit kind of really did bring a buzz, and people did really realize that they don't really need to go to Maldives anymore because we have the Lakshadweep Islands. And not only the Lakshadweep Islands, but I'd like to say even the Andamans and even other places like Netrani are really good. It's just that we haven't really gone and explored. We're just relying on stuff that is there over the net and stuff like that. But if you really go and visit those places, you will really realize how pristine our country is and how crazy those islands are and how untouched they are. Because the more and more I travel, I realize there's so much to just look within than why look outside.
So hashtag Lakshadweep के बाद आपको लगता है कि employment opportunities और बढ़ेंगी in terms of marine sports and...
To be honest, when I started off diving in the Andamans, I had heard of Havelock just having 20 dive sites, 20 dive shops, but now there are over 100.
Okay.
So just in the Andamans itself, the progress is so much. But Lakshadweep being so protected and not open to any XYZ individual, like today, if you want to go to Lakshadweep, you can't just book a ticket and go.
Correct.
You need government permission to kind of let you in. But since Modi has kind of gone there, I'm guessing that clause will open up.
Okay.
Because till the time you don't make it available to people, people really can't use it. You're just creating a buzz there. But till the time the portal is not really like open to all, only that's when people will kind of sign up for it. And they actually know they can make it there.
So is scuba diving, I'm sorry, I'm completely oblivious about it, Varish, as I'm asking you, is scuba diving seasonal? कि आप बोले इसे कि आप एक पैशन के तौर पर इसे करियर बना सकते हैं और बाकी के महीने आप कहीं और take up a job or...
So to be very honest, scuba diving is not really seasonal if you're kind of working for a dive center on an island, because in India we have 3 months off, which is the rainy season, and all around the year it's still open. Even during the rainy season, the dive shops are pretty much open. It's just that the waters are super choppy and the environmental conditions don't really allow the boats to go further out. But if the water is kind of calm and the conditions kind of allow us, you can go diving even in the rain. There's no particular rule as such.
Correct.
So, I mean, speaking of kind of having a seasonal time in diving, if you go to see, Maldives has only 1 month off. It operates all around the year.
Okay.
So it actually depends on you. Most people kind of take up contracts where they kind of work for a dive shop for 3 months and then they kind of try to find work otherwise. But more or less, it's people kind of working for an entire season. It's better for the dive shop.
Correct.
And it's also better for the person working there.
Okay.
You have like at least 7 to 8 months of continuous work to just understand the business of diving.
So when you're teaching kids swimming pool में जो एक काफ़ी controlled environment है, especially कुछ teenagers जो they swim like you swam from Uran to Gateway of India.
Yeah.
तो swimming में आपकी practice हुई, and when you're there actually in the sea,
Yeah.
तो ये transition कितना difficult होता है?
So actually speaking, both of them are different ball games, but the real playground is obviously the ocean. Comparing the swimming pool conditions to the ocean, it's actually good to learn in the swimming pool. It's because there's no surge, there's no current, so a person can literally understand the sport better. Instead of going to an island and wasting 2 days or 3 days for that matter, watching your instructor, learning the skills, doing your theory, we make you do that in Bombay on an online process with e-learning, so that you kind of figure out the touch and feel of the equipment and how everything is going to work for your body in the water. in the swimming pool. And that makes it easier for you to achieve your certification when you go to an island, and also you save days. You can spend that many more days underwater looking at fish instead of looking at the instructor.
Correct.
So it's a huge plus for people learning in the swimming pool here and then going to get their certification.
Okay.
which is pretty much the right way to do it.
So, अगर किसी को स्कूबा डाइविंग में अपना करियर बनाना है वारिश, तो at what age they should actually start giving these training
So
exams?
to be very honest, I'd like to kind of mention that scuba diving is the only non-competitive sport in the entire industry of adventure sports. It's probably the only non-competitive sport. It's a sport where there's no age, there's no certain time of when you can be an instructor or when you want to turn professional. It's something that is totally experience based, and it kind of dwell into it, or kind of meld into it, or kind of sink yourself into it slowly and steadily.
Okay.
And most people kind of misconcept scuba diving as a competitive sport. Think that seeing a lot of fish and going from place A to place B in a faster pace is going to matter, but it really doesn't matter. It's all about the experience. It's all about how much time you want to spend down. There's no fixed rule in diving that you need to kind of adhere to a particular set of things or power or anything of that sort. It's a total technique based sport.
Correct.
So there's no age limit to it. Like when I did my diploma, I had a 62-year-old lady from America who kind of came to just do an instructor course, which was crazy because by 62, no one will even think of it.
Yes.
But people are doing it.
And how much kind of investment we should look at, including the gear that is required, the wetsuit?
So Indian mentality kind of is a bit different. But if you kind of see diving in a broader perspective globally, they make you buy the equipment way beforehand.
Correct.
That's the business of diving.
Correct.
The first thing that they sell is the equipment, and only that's when you start diving. They expect you to have all your gear personalized.
Correct.
But in India, because things are a little different and we're not so water prone and stuff like that, the whole business of diving here is a little slow, where people kind of invest in their in the equipment a little late. Like they'll start picking out one equipment by the year, and then eventually make an entire scuba unit.
Yeah.
Because it's also super expensive.
Correct.
Like if you just
like
try
what
to,
kind of expense?
if you just try to buy like an entire scuba unit by yourself, it'll come up to about 10 lakh rupees, including the scuba tank,
Okay.
with like the best quality material and stuff like that. So yeah, it's about 10 lakh rupees, which is a big
It's
sum
expensive.
for people. And if you kind of even go to sea to kind of cover the cost with the money that you're going to be making, is going to take some time. It's not like super quick money as well. Also, there's wear and tear of equipment, so you'll always have to kind of keep servicing it, buying new pairs of things and stuff like that. So yeah, it's a total. It's paddy, but we say
Yeah.
pay another
It's
dollar.
passion.
Pay another dollar in.
Oh, okay. Correct. When you're underwater, what are you thinking? Like, how different is that world when?
So to be very honest, underwater I'm not really thinking. It's a total different space altogether, and it's a different zone. And at that point you're just fluid. You're just like any other fish that you see around. You're just basically being a part of the ocean, which is so unexplored. And yeah, it's a totally different feeling. You really have to do it to kind of know it. That's why the dive company I work for says "Karo to jano."
Acha. So, Varish, what's the thin difference between snorkeling and scuba diving?
Snorkeling, I would say, is the first step to kind of exploring the ocean. Not everybody would want to scuba dive because of the depth factor and water entering their masks and stuff like that. So snorkeling is something that is pretty much easy because you have your wetsuit that is going to keep you a bit buoyant. You also have a life jacket at some places. It's also a great way to kind of, be in touch with the underwater world, because not everybody can, go deep down because of heart problems or XYZ. Because you have to be really fit to be able to do scuba. I mean, not really fit, but fit enough and not have any medical conditions to kind of do scuba in a proper manner.
So as we going deeper in the waters, the pressure really affects.
The
Right?
pressure really, the whole game is on the pressure. So that's when most of the things kind of
Happen physically to
yes,
humans.
Yes, because when you're at a depth of say 30 meters, your organs are literally shrinked,
Okay.
and they're like, if your heart is like this big, it's probably become this much.
Correct.
And by the time you start coming up, it all starts to open up. And that's why you don't want to come at a really fast speed. You want to come really slow so that everything doesn't kind of, you don't have a lung rupture or stuff like that. It can be super fatal at the same time. But again, if you kind of dive with a proper dive school and kind of make sure your safety measures and all of that is in place, then it's a 100% solvable sport. It's a 100% solvable sport till the time the regulator is in your mouth.
Correct.
The only problem arises is when you remove the regulator from your mouth. So I would say it's a 100% solvable sport.
Okay.
So to kind of have that rate of 100% solvable, I think it's a great sport that everyone should try.
So how much is a scuba diver instructor or a trainer responsible for
so if anything happens
students
to say
or members or clients?
Yeah, so if anything happens to say XYZ individual, and if I was the leading instructor to kind of keep an eye on them, and something, say God forbid, something happened to them, and basically there'll be a lawsuit against me.
Okay.
So I'll have to kind of figure that with my association that's there in Australia. With this dive school we adhere to, and then it's going to be a court case.
Okay.
Yeah. So we have to kind of make an incident report. It's pretty much what they teach us in our school. So
it's very important for you to understand कि आपका client या आपके students physically fit है या mentally fit है या नहीं. And how do you assess that?
So I mean, when I'm going on a boat and stuff like that, but just by general behavior of people, if someone's trying to cling their hands too much, someone's really nervous and scratch themselves and like just probably playing with their fingers a lot, playing with the dive computer, just kind of sense stress really quickly. And once you know that, then you just know who to keep an eye on and who to not keep an eye on. Because you just understand by body language.
Correct.
And the eyes say it all, I would say.
Yeah. So बारिश एक तो बात हुई teenagers के लिए career के लिए, but बहुत सारे teenagers tourist destination पर scuba diving के लिए आते हैं. कुछ responsibly behave करते हैं, कुछ irresponsibly behave करते हैं. So what would you want to tell teenagers in terms of exploring a marine life? आप marine life के space में जाके आप कुछ explore कर रहे हैं. So what are the basic etiquettes that teenagers must observe while exploring the ocean?
Ideally, I would like to say that you shouldn't kind of touch anything underwater or like play with anything underwater, because you don't want something that harms you or you may harm something else.
Correct.
Also, coral and stuff like that is really, really, really pristine to people like us who are divers, because we know how much time it really takes to kind of regrow. Correct. So there are people who are kind of new and end up kicking corals, and that coral is going to take another 300 years to come back to its real form.
Correct.
So itself is a loss for the ocean. And I would like to tell teenagers that just be well within their safety measures and kind of just remember that it's a non-competitive sport, and just enjoy the underwater world and get more people to do it and stuff like that. But I would say that just do not harm any aquatic animal or a reef, or just basically do not be well away from those things. You don't want to get into touching those things and stuff like that. And I know people have been doing it, but they've been studying sharks and they've been studying these fish for like years and years. And we, being novices, we don't know about the underwater world that much. And we don't have the right to kind of get into or invade their space. Correct. We already have, to be very honest. But touching them and like stuff like that is just not a very nice thing.
Okay.
I don't kind of support baited diving as well.
What's that?
Baited diving is basically where they take fish heads, they take minks and they put it down.
So bait, B-A-I-T, like a bait.
Bait, yeah. Okay. So they take like proper chums of fish, they take it down and they chum the water.
To attract fish.
And then once they chum the water, all the sharks and everyone starts to kind of swim around and stuff like that. I don't kind of support it that much, because I just like the wild to be wild, and I think I'd like to just have my say on that. I think everyone has their own perspective of why they do what, but I would just like to stay away. In an instance, if something comes towards me, protect myself, I may have to kind of give it direction. But otherwise, I don't think there's something that you should be touching underwater.
Do sharks have eye contact?
Yes, they can sense.
They make eye contact with humans?
Energy really well. Like they can really sense panic and energy really well. They're really smart.
Did you have an encounter?
Yes, I have been diving. I have done a few shark dives. We in fact did a very famous route that a dive company does. It's basically the Fuamula. It's basically where the tiger sharks live. So that species of sharks is, I think, the fifth most apex predator in the ocean.
Okay.
So they're quite gracious creatures, you know.
First one is what, the great white shark?
The first one is the great white, yes. I haven't seen a great white.
Oh yeah, okay.
But my boss Anis has seen orcas in the Galapagos.
Okay.
So that's the killer whale.
Okay,
That's
yes,
the apex
yes,
predator.
that's the name of your company.
Yeah, that's the apex predator in the ocean. So yeah.
No, so you were saying about your encounter with
So
the
I
tiger
mean,
shark.
so with tiger sharks, yeah. So I mean, sharks can really sense energy really well. I've had a few instances with sharks, but it's always been a distance. I've tried not to kind of get too close to them. Even though they may come close to you, that's okay. But you don't really want to kind of fidget with them and stuff like that. They're really huge.
Okay.
So once you see the underwater world, you actually understand how tiny you are, and that's the beauty of it.
Okay.
You know, especially when something big comes in front of you, and you're like, "Man, I'm so small." And you see a photo of yourself with the fish, and you'll see yourself is this much, and the fish is so big. And that's how crazy the world is.
So Varish, you also assist in Bollywood shootings, you know, underwater or giving scuba diving lessons to actors. Tell us some of your experiences on that.
So yeah, I've been a safety diver for the unit that I work for, Underwater Film Services. Comes under the same branch of Orca Dive Club.
Okay.
We just have a films wing to it.
Okay.
And yeah, that's pretty much the wing that I work for. So I mean, it's a total different ball game working with actors, and it's crazy when you have to make the shot happen when the
Yes.
camera is rolling. You probably have only 30 seconds. So we kind of teach all the actors how to breathe from a scuba unit, because eventually they have to kind of hold their breath at some point. So they're learning how to breathe from a scuba cylinder, and then when the shot is actually rolling, that time they probably have to get away from the regulator
Yes.
and just do it in one breath.
Yes.
So it's a totally different ballgame, because we initially start the first day with only training the actors, with all the backdrop and everything being put and stuff like that.
And this is shot in the actual sea, or it's...
So it again all depends from production to production and what the budgets are. So more or less we kind of do it in the swimming pool, but again when the production budgets are high, that time we even go to the actual islands.
Okay.
So just very recent shoot of Ram Setu that we did,
Okay.
we did end up going to the Maldives
Okay.
to shoot that.
So how are actors receptive to all the
So-
training? Do they train easily, or they take time? Some might be having some water phobia or something.
Yes, so most actors kind of do pick it up, because they are also in a super grit to kind of get the shot.
Correct.
And also some of the actors want to do it themselves. Or
Okay.
there are some who probably don't want to do it themselves, and then we have a body double, and they probably fix it in post and stuff like that. But more or less, I think most of the actors, especially the young ones and the new ones that I've met,
Like some...
Vikrant Masay has actually been a great guy. I mean,
Okay.
just to see what that guy had underwater, the amount of patience and just his kind of enthusiasm to get the shot was crazy. I mean, we all saw it in 12th fail also,
Yes.
but like he's really one guy who kind of, you know, like, I'll have to
Works
give hats
hard.
off to him. Yeah, for sure. Because when you see someone underwater, they try to kind of tell you everything about their lives,
Correct.
because they're actually dealing with their fears.
Correct.
But when you see someone kind
And they're
of
trusting you.
they're trusting you. They know that there is no other way but this. Yeah. Even if they probably know that it's going to be a 5-second thing, there is somewhere down the line of fear. Just to break that ice, it's not easy. Especially when the camera is rolling with the whole team in front of you, and you don't want to upset anyone and stuff
Yes.
like that. It's a whole different ball game.
Yes.
Especially when the shoot is happening in winters.
Yes.
And we're all like dying to get that hot water bucket right after the shot, because it's literally, you can see the smoke coming out of the water.
Yeah.
We're there with like three layers, and it's usually a 2-day schedule or a 3-day schedule. We're there for 72 hours, and it's crazy.
Yeah.
It's wild. Yeah, and we also have like stools and stuff. So say an actor cannot go that deep, then we kind of put the actor on a stool, and then it's happening at 3 or 4 feet of water.
Okay.
Just enough to get the shot. It's all cinematic, and
Yes.
it's all a play of light and camera. So like just kind of fix the setting, and then eventually get the shot.
But yes, it's even if it is all controlled, and there are people around, and the depth is controlled. But I believe, Varish, once water enters your nose,
Yeah.
the panic is something that nobody can help you
So
with.
that's why we do the first day of training.
Correct.
So initially, that's why in that first day of training, they completely kind of tell their monkey brain that you only have to breathe and inhale and exhale through your mouth. You don't have to use your nose at all. So these
Yes.
are some of the few things that we kind of teach you in the training itself.
Yes.
And that is inculcated so well in them. And even if you kind of see some of the work that we've done on our website, it's crazy how an actor has actually pulled off a shot without, having, by just holding a breath, without having a scuba unit and performing a skill.
So who's that actor who can hold his or her breath and
So to be very honest, I have worked with a couple of them. I would like to say the person who played there was a person who played the role in Mardani 2, the guy who was the serial killer, I think.
Okay.
I don't really remember his name, but he did a really good job. I think there are so many people who kind of do a really good job. They don't really know it, but once they kind of train with us, they actually realize they can actually hold their breath for 30, 40 seconds.
Correct.
And I think they all kind of love the, what do you call it, the enthusiasm of our team as well, because we're always pushing them that you can do like 30 seconds more, 10 seconds more.
Correct.
It just becomes like family. And that's the whole beauty of the sport.
So Variksh, could you name some movies that Orca team has assisted shoots?
So we have done, we did recently, our team did Jawan.
Okay.
We also did Mardani 2, we did Ram Setu, we've done Zindagi Na Milegi Dobara. We've done most of the Bollywood films. Like, we did a few with MC Sher, I don't even know what's his real name. Siddhant Chaturvedi.
Okay.
Malang 2.
Yes.
So yeah, a few films. We also did a few South films.
Okay.
PS something.
Polly
and Selvan. Then we also did one Mani Ratnam film.
Okay.
Don't really remember which one. But yeah.
But do you like the shoot experience?
It is quite crazy. I miss shoots.
But you need to be on your toes.
Yeah, we have been on a bit of a dry run. But yeah, once the ball starts kicking in again, it's going to be good.
That's so nice to hear. From whatever we spoke up till now, मुझे ऐसा लगता है वारिश की सबसे पहले swimming lessons तो बहुत ज़्यादा important.
Yes, very much.
Swimming is the base.
Yeah, I think
swimming के बिना आगे बढ़ ही नहीं सकते आप.
Slowly it's changing. It's slowly changing.
तो ये बहुत ज़रूरी है कि at a very early age आप बच्चों को swimming से introduce कराएं.
You should. 100%.
And also sometimes हम as parents हम knowingly unknowingly बच्चों को पानी का fear डाल देते हैं.
Yeah, we are hesitant about it.
Yes.
And that hesitance turns into fear.
Yes.
For the kids, because you don't want a kid who's never seen fear in his whole life to accept that fear and kind of take it as something dark. If you kind of, in a very early stage, take it as something that's fun and games, then the whole game changes. Then you're just keeping yourself more open to things.
Yes.
Otherwise, you're just restricting yourself.
Absolutely.
And it's an element of nature. If you're not going to explore the water, then what are you? Because 70% is underwater and 30% is land.
Yes.
Why are we fighting on 30% of land when there's 70% underwater? So it's just as simple as that.
But sometimes it does happen that as parents हम बच्चों को बोलते हैं ना baby pool में ही खेलना.
Yeah.
जहाँ पाव touch होगा वहीं पे खेलना.
I mean, like one of my instructors
said, inculcating a fear of height, depth.
Yeah, like one of my instructor Azim, when I just started off my career with Orca in 2019, Anis was the guy who kind of got me back to the sport. I did my dive master in Lakshadweep and I couldn't work for a dive center because I had to join advertising. Being 27 wasn't that easy back then. But yeah, I kind of joined in advertising.
Today being 17 is not easy.
It's not easy, yeah. I mean, yeah. So I kind of joined an ad agency and then finally after 2 years of, living in that ad agency, I was like, why am I not diving? And then that's when Anis kind of, got me in the game and he's like, you know what, you should come help us out in the pool and stuff like that. And that time I met Azim. Azim was one of the instructors he is one of the instructors in Orca, and he told me that in India, most of the parents tell their children, "Beta, go and play in the sand, but don't go in the water."
Yes.
And then that's when, and abroad, if you go to sea, they say that don't make castles of sand; the water is going to wash it away.
Yes.
Just go play in the water.
Yes.
So
swimming is a must.
It's just two different things, It's just like if you can kind of inculcate, it's like cycling or like riding a bike. It's like once you learn it, it becomes a skill, and then you're never going to forget it.
Most of the parents सोचते हैं थोड़ा और बड़े हो जाएंगे फिर सिखा देंगे.
Yeah, I mean it's.
करके time निकल जाता है.
And then it just goes, and something. And nowadays with like phones and tabs around, like I don't see much of the kids even doing outdoor
sedentary
activities.
lifestyle.
Yeah, it's like super sad and super digital. Although it has its pros to it, they're super smart kids, like I said. But yeah, again, they're all into this tablets and phones, and it's
Less of
kind of
physical
annoying
activity.
to see that sometimes. Because when we were on the island, especially when I started off diving, I lived on an island where there was no network. I had no connect with normal life. I was just basically on an island all day long with a Nokia 1100, and that's just going to kind of find one bar of network somehow to like make a call.
Correct.
That's about it. But yeah, that was the beauty of it. That's when you kind of get in touch with the people more. You understand, mix with the locals. You kind of understand how traditional their attributes are and how they kind of live in a day-to-day life and stuff like that. You get to see so much more.
Yes.
Otherwise, you're just like there. And it's just...
So, Varish, before we end this chat, what is it one thing that you would want to tell parents and one thing that you would want to advise the teenagers?
What I'd like to tell the parents is I would kind of want all the parents to not be hesitant towards their kids for water and kind of take it as a bad thing. Most people kind of take it as a taboo.
Yes.
Water is not a good
It's a
thing.
fright.
Shouldn't do that. Someone kind of told your mother or father that, if your son goes in the water, your daughter goes in the water, person's gonna die and stuff like that. And that's what kind of creates negative energy. And you don't want that to infiltrate children. Because children are just born fearless. And they should just be fearless. That's when they will actually turn into a real fruit.
And what do you want to tell teenagers
I think
as far as water safety is
I think I
concerned?
have nothing to say. In terms of water safety, I'd like to say that they should be well within their measures, safety measures, and just never forget the safety points in scuba diving. If you can just think of safety, like as a dive school, we have motto, safety first. Everything else is secondary.
Correct.
First is safety, because if you're not safe and if you're not going to be able to dive, then it's probably going to be an instance where I'm not going to let you be in the water.
Correct.
Because I want we as a dive school want to make good divers. We just don't want to take people diving and make money. We want to literally turn that person into a good diver.
Correct.
And we're somewhere down the line where we get to learn something from them, and then they learn something from us.
Correct.
It's a give and take relationship. So.
Varish, would you tell us something about your diving school? Like, how do we take admissions and, how to enroll?
So,
and where is it located?
So, our dive school, Orca Dive Club, is located in Worli. It's bang next to Four Seasons Hotel. You can just drop by. It's like a very free store. If you just see it from outside, you'll see it looks like an aquarium. There's a mermaid in there and stuff like that.
Okay.
We also have Shamin, who's a co-owner, who runs the mermaiding school there.
Okay.
So, if you guys want to kind of turn into mermaids or mermans, then...
Mermans?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Then you guys can come drop by an office. It's super cool, get a good coffee there, and there's also a store with a lot of equipment around. You can just get a personalized mask, you can get a rash guard, and you can get what Modi ji wore, wetsuits.
Yeah.
There's a lot of
wetsuits are in demand.
There's a lot of wetsuits in our office.
Yes.
So you can come and, just drop by anytime, and you'll find us there.
Okay.
Yeah.
And we'll find you.
Yes.
And then we'll train with you.
Yeah.
On that note, Varish, this was so good to have you. This is a little token of love from me and my team.
Thank you.
And thank you so much for being on our show.
Thank you. Pleasure is mine.
आज के एपिसोड में बस इतना ही. मिलेंगे आपसे अगले एपिसोड में एक हॉट न्यू इंस्पायरिंग करियर के साथ. तब तक keep watching In Our Teens and do not forget to like, share and subscribe. Namaskar.